Hey guys, it's Monday, 12:17 a.m. on September 2nd, 2019. And the news is reporting that Hurricane Dorian has made landfall in the Bahamas with life-threatening 185-mile-an-hour winds. Now, it is the official position of the In Truth by Grace channel to tell you guys that if you are in the trajectory of where the storm is heading, please listen to all your local authorities to evacuate according to the instructions that they will provide to you, because these storms are very real and they're very dangerous. We'll let what happened last summer with Mexico Beach as our benchmark to say that just because I'm going to be documenting some crazy inconsistencies here, it does not mean that the storm is not very dangerous. And if the authorities are telling you to evacuate, please do so. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the information I've been able to obtain today as I have been paying attention to what these Hurricane Center public advisories have given us. I'm just going to document by showing you, scrolling down. This is really, the purpose of this video is simply to capture the stuff in real time that I have. These are just the different advisories that happened starting at 2 o'clock. I've got the 2 o'clock, I've got the 5 o'clock, I have the 8 o'clock, and now the 11 o'clock. The only thing that has changed except for the location is the storm has now, according to the National Hurricane Center, has dropped 5 miles an hour. The information, let's see, where can I find this here? This one. Okay, we're going to have to do MPH. There we go. The maximum sustained winds are near 180 miles an hour. In every other one of the updates here, it said they were 185 miles an hour. All of them have to do with sustained winds, and the hurricane shape is that the hurricane force winds extend outward up to 45 miles. Now, what I've done throughout the day is I have taken the longitude and latitude, I've plugged it into Google Earth, much like I did, I'll show you last year. Here's Hurricane Florence to give you a reminder, and here's Hurricane Michael to give you a reminder. And here we go. This is the course of this Hurricane Dorian today. Now remember, it said that the storm hurricane force winds extend 45 miles out from the center of the storm, which means that this airport here at Treasure Cay Airport and this airport here at Marsh Harbor Airport were both smack dab in the trajectory of this storm all day. So from 11 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, this hurricane blitzed 185 miles an hour right here, right over Treasure Cay Airport and Marsh Harbor Airport. And in addition to that, you guys, we have these buoys that are in the water. And we have this storm special view, the latest observations from Atlantic Hurricane Dorian, according to the National Data Buoy Center of the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administrator's Office. And this information here documents all the wind speeds according to the immediate time. These are live data feeds. These are the data feeds of the buoys in the water. And I'm just going to show you the map here in case you're not familiar with what the Data Buoy Center does. It tracks all the information that navigates our ships from point A to point B. These little squares here, the yellow ones, are filled with data. We're going to click back to the Atlantic Hurricane Dorian, and it will show you everything from the time to the longitude and latitudes, the wind direction, the wind speed, the gust winds, the pressure, winds, I don't know, a temperature, all sorts of stuff. It gives us all sorts of data. All we're going to be interested in here, though, is tracking the wind speed. Because here's the problem, you guys. As I've shown you over the last couple of years, for some reason, despite whatever the National Hurricane Center says, all the instruments, the wind speed instruments on the ground and in the water, and look, these are not like personal weather stations, folks. These are things that are run by the federal government. So the federal government getting federal government data. I'm not making this stuff up. These airports like Marsh Harbor International Airport, It's an international airport. They have FAA standards for gathering this sort of information, daily information on wind speeds. Okay, we have wind speeds and wind gusts. And I want you to look from 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday morning until 9 o'clock at night tonight. Well, now it's midnight, but until 9 o'clock tonight. Look at the highest wind speed, you guys. The highest wind speed you're going to see here is 21 miles an hour with gusts of only 36 miles an hour. So let's just double check this. Let's cross-reference here to what I'm showing you. Here is the Marsh Harbor Airport. Today at 2 o'clock, you had a hurricane that the National Hurricane Center is saying was 185 miles an hour at 2 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, it was only what? Let's see how far away this... At 2 o'clock, well, the Marsh Harbor Airport is only 17 miles away from where the hurricane was at 11 in the morning, and it is only 12 miles away from where it was at 5 o'clock, and let's see, 30 miles away from where it was at 8 o'clock. So all day long, both of these airports should be reporting wind speeds of 180 miles an hour, from 74 to 180 miles an hour. But let's look. At 11 o'clock, it was 21 miles an hour. At 2 o'clock, it was 21 miles an hour. At 5 o'clock, it was 15 miles an hour. At 8 o'clock, it was 16 miles an hour. That is for an international airport that has wind speed instruments that are accounted for on a standard for the Federal Aviation Administration. All right, let's take a look here at this one. This is the K Harbor, the Great K Harbor, the Boogaloo, the airport there. And we're going to look again at the 11 o'clock in the morning readings, which should be anywhere between 74 miles an hour and 185 miles an hour. But what do we see? We see 15 miles an hour with a gust of wind at 24 miles an hour. Okay, you guys, 15 miles an hour is 70 miles an hour slower than what the news was reporting at that time. Let's look at the 2 o'clock. The 2 o'clock reading 10 miles an hour with gusts only to 33 miles an hour. All right, we're going to look at the 5 o'clock reading, which is somewhere between the 345 and the 545. Wind speeds were only 12 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 35 miles an hour. And the 8 o'clock reading is at 13 miles an hour. So as you guys can see, there is a huge discrepancy between what the National Hurricane Center is reporting in their, manually written reports and the computer-generated metrics of the wind speed instruments that get airplanes from point A to point B. There's something very wrong here. Now let's take a look here at the National Data Buoy Center. Same problem. If we look at all these buoys, and there are quite a bit of them, and you start looking at this wind speed reading here, which we're going to have to do, we're going to have to translate this. The wind speed readings in knots, if it was 185 mile an hour winds, it would be 160 mile an hour knots. Now, if it's 64 knots, it's almost 74 miles an hour. So what we should look for is knot speed between 160 and 64 knots, according to what these buoys read. If a tornado, it's been a long day. If a hurricane has actually passed through this area, okay, we have these knot speeds, 39, 18, 25, 13, 38. You guys, none of these readings are even close to hurricane strength winds, yet again. So we're on year number 3, where the actual raw instrumentation of what's in the water and what is being read at the airports are completely inconsistent with what we're being told at the National Hurricane Center. Now, I can't explain this. So I am putting this information out there, and I'm asking you guys, why? What can possibly explain why we are having these vast discrepancies? Last year, we encountered these kinds of discrepancies, and I'll show you Queens Highway. Here, the wind speeds are 41 miles an hour. Now, right now, the hurricane is supposed to be barreling down right here in this area, and the wind speeds are just reaching tropical storm strength, guys. Tropical storm strength. Now, let's look at the wind speeds as they've gone on through the day, and you can see that, you guys, these wind speeds hit a maximum of 35 miles an hour, and right now they're 24 miles an hour. So you guys, there is something hugely inconsistent. It can't be both. Wind speeds cannot be both 21 miles an hour and 185 miles an hour. And I'm just wondering where they're getting these instrument readings if the actual, FAA instruments on the ground at the airports are where we should be getting the most accurate wind speed readings of all from the airports, are reading, nothing more than, 16, 18, 21 miles an hour. So anyway, I just thought I'd capture this data for you, and I don't have any explanation for it. But most importantly, I want to tell you guys that if you're in the trajectory of one of these storms, please pay attention to what your local authorities are telling you. If they are telling you to evacuate the areas, please, for your protection of property and self, just do that. Okay, have a good night, you guys.